Hi, everyone. Welcome to our latest episode of NightVision Rapid Fire, a series we do to showcase some of the latest innovation happening in the industry. I'm Doreen, a partner here at NightDragon, and I have an awesome guest with me today, co-founder, CPO, and head of quantum algorithms at Classiq, Amir Naveh. Hi, Amir.
Hi, Doreen. Great to be here.
Great. Thank you so much for joining. Let's start off with a brief intro on you. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and maybe what you were doing before you founded Classiq?
Yeah, for sure. My background is in physics and mathematics. I started in the Talpiot program, which is one of the elite programs to train the leaders in the Israeli defense industries. Then I spent close to a decade in the Israeli space industry, so working on satellites both in space and ground stations, doing mostly software and algorithms projects across the industry, and also bringing them back home to actually gain intelligence and make an impact for the intelligence community. That's what I did during most of my military service.
Incredible.
After that, looked into quantum, and then we started Classiq back in 2020.
Incredible. And for those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about what Classiq does?
Classiq is doing quantum computing software. What this means is that there are many different ways to implement quantum computers, the hardware. So we need the computer to be ready. It's looking quite optimistic. And then once it's ready, we need to be able to use these computers. So we need to develop the algorithms and the software to actually make these computers useful and impactful. This is what we're doing. We're doing the software layer.
Incredible. So, how are you seeing enterprises today adopting quantum technology? Like, what are some of the promising use cases that you are seeing with all of your customers today?
All of what enterprise are doing is preparing for the day when quantum computers will be ready, which will be sometime probably in this decade. So maybe 2 to 5 years away is a realistic timeline for this. Um, when these computers come in, they will solve probably most of the hard problems of the computationally hard problems enterprise tackles. So if I'm looking at the financial industry, we're looking at derivative pricing or portfolio optimization or fraud detection or risk management. If I'm looking at logistics, I can look at supply chain management. I can look at computational fluid dynamics and doing hard simulations, computational chemistry, drug discovery. So there's really huge computational problems. Each of what I just mentioned and many more are problems worth billions to the enterprise. And when
Yeah.
these computers go into production, then this is what they're going to do with them. At this point, they're preparing, so it's mostly research and development towards the moment where these computers become available.
Okay. So to reiterate, we're not yet at full commercialization, right? So that's going to happen in the next couple of years, 2 to 5 years. And that's when everyone is going to have access to quantum computers, right? So can you talk just a little bit more about where we are in the maturity curve? What needs to happen for that 2 to 5 years? What needs to happen for it to be 2 versus 5? What kind of exciting research advancements are we looking for? Are we watching, or is Classiq driving? And maybe I would add to this question, how does it compare to what we've seen so far with AI?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe I'll start with the second part of the question. So there was in AI, I think we've been optimistic on AI for a long time, but there was this GPT moment maybe 2 years ago where it became very clear that this is something that's completely changing how we work. And then kind of the world changed. So it's kind of rocketed exponentially. So this time for quantum should be, that's what I say, 2 to 5 years away. There will be this moment where it just doesn't make sense to work without quantum computers in your hard computational workflows. What needs to happen for this is threefold, and they're all interconnected. One is advancing the hardware. So this is, I mean, a lot of companies both devoted wholly to quantum. So, for example, IonQ or Quantinuum, which is IPOing next week, or IBM and Google and Amazon, they're investing billions in building this hardware. Um, and their timelines are 2 to 5 years away for us to see this commercial advantage. Second, what we need is we need the algorithms, right? So we have some algorithms that are already working, but just as AI, it's not exactly something that we had. Like we didn't know the LLMs would work like this. It's just after a lot of trial and error they did. So we need the people to develop these algorithms. And third, we need the software infrastructure, so kind of like the Microsoft for quantum computing, which enables us, given the algorithms, to actually use the hardware. So Classiq is on these last 2 points, both in developing the algorithms and applications, and also in making sure that we can actually run them on a quantum computer.
So without Classic, we're not going to be able to get to this commercialization, right?
Exactly. You need it's not you can work with 5 or 10 qubits maybe in a playground kind of environment, but if you want to do this properly, if I gave you a fully functioning NVIDIA GPU with 50 billion transistors on it and told you, right, great, build an LLM, you'd need the 60 years of software abstraction layers in order to actually build something useful on it. And we don't have that in quantum yet. Classic
Right.
is by far the most advanced solution you have for this, and we're still at the earliest stages. So this is a big technology endeavor to make the software actually work, and without us, you would be very limited.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize that you guys are also hardware agnostic, right? So it doesn't matter who in the hardware race wins. You guys can match and work with any of them.
Right. Yeah, that's an important point. So the companies I mentioned, for example, IonQ is working with a modality called trapped ions. And IBM, for example, is working with superconducting qubits. And in the physical layer, they're very, very different. But at some layer of abstraction, they're exactly the same. They implement the same logic. So we compile into that similar logic. Of course, we're aware of the underlying hardware, but in that sense, we can utilize it whether it's the trapped ion computer or the superconducting computer or the photonic computer or whatever other modality there is.
Yeah. And I get the question a lot about which modality is going to win. Is it going to be just one, or do you think that multiple will win and multiple will be relevant per different use cases? What do you think?
So out of like maybe 10 or 12 different approaches, there are four leading ones, which I would be surprised if it's not one of them that would eventually win, which are superconducting, trapped ions, photons, and neutral atoms. Um, I it's hard to guess if there will be a clear winner. They do have very different strengths and weaknesses in the different technologies, but it's maybe early to say if they will be combined or if there will be one that will be like the new transistor and everything will just fall into that one technology.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, you guys recently made a really exciting announcement around AI agents for quantum software. I got also tons of pings about that. What does this mean? What are they? How do they, support the build of different quantum applications?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. So that's actually really exciting. Obviously, it's quite new because this whole world wasn't really possible a year ago. What's really nice is we've been developing the technology for 6 years, and it turns out it's the exact infrastructure you need to make the AI useful. So we built a descriptive language, which is exactly what LLMs love. And we built this compiler, which takes the language and optimally compiles it into the hardware. So now, given this, the amazing abilities of the AI, we're able to connect agents to our language with our library, which has hundreds of working end-to-end examples that are already maintained, and then it learns from the examples. It has a language it really loves to use, and it's able to build or iterate on things that were already built and just give it a problem, or if you want to improve something already existing, and it will do the full workflow all the way from designing the algorithm, um, uh, describing it, visualizing it, executing it on simulator, on hardware. So the full workflow is now available completely with AI because the interfaces are already in place.
Wow. It's crazy to think how far we've come in such a short amount of time. Um, I have
Yeah,
a
it is.
couple more
Amazing.
questions here for you. You guys raised a significant amount of funding, including from Night Dragon. We're very proud to invest in Classiq. What do you see as the next phase of growth, and how are you putting that capital to work in terms of really growing the business?
Right. Yeah. First, it's great to have you with us on this journey. And thank you for believing in us and in our vision here. I think, as I mentioned, we've gone a long way, but this really is the very beginning. So uh, when quantum computing happens, this is not. We've raised $210 million so far. This is scratching the surface of what we need to do in terms of software. We have just developing the applications. I mean, just that, think of like every large industry in the world has to recreate every single workflow they have, but then also the actual product. So we're recreating 60 years of abstraction and automation in quantum software. Each of these is like 1,000-person journey over 10 years. And the vision is to dominate this. The vision really is to become the Microsoft of quantum. So I mean, it's good to take steady steps and to see that we know what we're doing and not to run too fast ahead before we have things that are grounded and actually needed. But I mean, for sure, hopefully this is just the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Um, so, last question for you, Amir. If you had to give one prediction on what we can expect from quantum in the coming 2, 3 years, what would it be?
Wow. You know these predictions where Bill Gates predicted how no one will need more than 600 kilobytes of memory, or like IBM director, there will be no need for more than 5 personal computers. So, I mean, that would be hard to beat them in wrong predictions, maybe. But I think the unknown is much larger than the known. So I would predict that when quantum computers do come, and I don't know if that's 2 years away or 5 years away, I think the applications are going to be much bigger than what we can anticipate today just on pen and paper. So my prediction is to be very excited for a technology that's going to really shift how we do things.
Incredible. What an exciting time to be building and investing in quantum. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned for
Thanks so
next time.
much.